So this is one of our Hazard Quest encounter experiences. I thought we could just go through this and talk about the different things that we used in the setting, as well as some of the different techniques we're using in terms of lighting and sound that create a really immersive experience for our players.
Sweet. Love it. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start over here?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and move over from this section here. We'll just move across the table.
Sure.
So for any DMs or wanting to set this up, or players who just kind of want to look behind the scenes, we'll talk about some of these pieces that we're doing and where we got them and why we put them in here.
So a lot of this is 3D printed, right? So we've got a mix of 3D printed, of stuff that we found online and purchased and crafted. So we're going to try to go through all this stuff and talk about what we did and where we got it. And we're going to be providing all the links to the companies who made these files that we get. We don't design, we just print and paint and tell stories. So sorry, we'll go ahead and go. You want to start over here?
No, I think it's important to note.
Right on.
So first, we've got a graveyard here. So during this vampire encounter chase, right, we're trying to set up some sort of an eerie background, if you will, for the castle that the vampire is trying to escape to. So we're doing that using graveyards, swamp pieces, some ruined terrain and tower pieces. So here we have this ruined church. This comes from Printable Scenery. Again, if you've never heard of Printable Scenery, they're fantastic. We use a lot of their stuff, and you'll continue to see it throughout our videos. It comes apart, a couple of pieces. Here we've got this lighting effect.
Oh, that's cool.
This is it's just a little thing you can buy off of eBay. You can buy like a pack of like 12 of them, and you get a remote. You can do various different colors. And this is just a resin piece that came from Fog Monster. And what that does, it allows you to blend it or hide it in the terrain. And so it's pretty slick. Like I said, you can do it. You can make it fade. Do all kinds of cool stuff.
I like that you can hide it. So
absolutely,
just helps with the immersion.
It's so versatile. You can put it inside pieces of terrain and all that stuff.
What about the big cliff that's sitting on?
Sure. Yeah, this piece right here, the stepped cliff. This is something that we made out of foam. So this is just various layers of kind of that pink insulation foam, that hard stuff that you can get. And then we just use various things like techniques with a knife or with a hot wire cutter. And then we glue them, we'll seal up some of the edges to blend it so you can't see where where one begins and one ends. And we create these different mountain pieces, and we've got, this is one right here too, you can kind of see it. That, yeah, that's what it looks like underneath, right?
Yeah, and there's tons of videos of some awesome crafters out there that we've used to learn how to do this. I think Black Magic Craft and Wylock's Armory, they have some great videos on how to build those foam pieces, so check those guys out.
Yeah, absolutely. They do so much with it. The graveyard itself, these are all pieces from the Ruined Graveyard piece from the Shadow Face set from Printable Scenery. This has an awesome Kickstarter. There's so much stuff. Most of this actually is from the Shadow Fae Kickstarter. These are from Thingiverse. Thingiverse is a great source, by the way, if you've not really dug into it. If you think you need to always buy, stuff that always, will cost you some sort of money, that's not always true, right? There's a lot of great stuff on Thingiverse. You can check it out. It's all free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, so the rest of it, right? This is all the graveyard set with various little pieces that we threw in. I think it's Black Scrolls Game or Infinite Dimensions, I think, maybe instead. This is headstones. I think you can find those on Thingiverse. So anyway, yeah, so we wanted that graveyard set with like a ruined church thing and a little mausoleum, again, Printable Scenery, to give that feel of, death, decrepit, right, rankness. So should we, let's go over here. So this bridge is actually from a Kickstarter from, I think it's Evan Carruthers. He did, it was like a winter set, and I took it and I blew it up by like 400% because it was just this small little thing, because I wanted the black coach to be able to cross it during the game. So that's what this is. The road pieces are all little ruined pieces from the Shadow Face set from Printable Scenery. You can get this set either in a ruined setup like this, or you can get it in like a nice pristine thing for like a really cool King's Court.
Yeah, and I've printed out those and I use them for all kinds of different stuff, not just fantasy type stuff. I'm using them for like an old decrepit highway for, Necromunda or anything like that too. So One thing we do try to do is reusability, because we put a lot of effort into painting this and printing it out and all that stuff. So I'm going to try to use it a couple times.
Yeah, and storage is actually, it's an issue as well, right?
That too, yeah.
This stuff, it's a lot. All right, so moving across, let's see here. So these, again, these swamp pieces here are from Printable Scenery from the Shadow Face set. Link to it in the description. These twisted trees are as well, and these are, again, so reusable. You can put them in any setting where you want to create some sort of dark, twisted vibe or feel, whether it be like a hag's hut or a place where the forest has been corrupted in some way. These are really great.
Yep, love them.
The miniatures are from a Song of Ice and Fire board game set, or I think it's actually a board game. It's like an RPG set, right?
Is it the miniatures war game?
It's the miniatures war game.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
So all those, and they have just really good action poses, and so that's why we chose those. The main piece here for the Count who's being chased by the players, and keep in mind like all these so the players can dismount. I think this is important to note, right? They all have their own minis. They may not necessarily match with that particular one because they don't make that, but that's important to note. So this is the black coach from Games Workshop. So if you recognize it and you're a wargamer, that's probably why. It's used for those wargame setups, and I think it just works perfectly.
It's great. It's a fantastic model.
Yeah, the model, you can't fault Games Workshop at all for their models. They're so good. Same here. These guys are Dreadblade Heroes from Games Workshop. Moving across, this piece right here. This is a great piece. This is from an artist by the name of Dark Realms Forge, or that's his Patreon. I forget his name. But Dark Realms Forge does so much great stuff. This is one of his Ruined Mausoleum pieces. And then this here is from Infinite Dimensions. They do a lot of amazing stuff. And this is their Ruined Rookery.
And when you set this up, you increase this in size as well, right?
Yeah, when I printed this, I think I jacked it up as high as I could, just to try to create that dramatic effect. And that's something we should probably remember to mention. If you're looking for a 3D printed piece and you're just wondering if it's worth it or, right, you can scale these up and down on your 3D printer to any size that you really want, as long as you're willing to maybe slice and dice them up inside the software to make them fit on the bed. And that's what we did with this one. So it's, and it worked. It's still very much in scale with miniatures, and it worked great.
Awesome.
What else here? Okay, so this is Printable Scenery again from their Shadow Face set. I can't tell you how many times I've used these. Come on, impaled skeletons.
Right, you can't go wrong. It's instant horror scene.
No, you could put that in a necromancer setup, or you could put it in any area where you're trying to scare the players into thinking this is how they're going to end up. Trees. This is from the Kickstarter, the Printable Scenery Elves, Demons, Dwarf Kickstarter. Various scatter pieces, maybe some from Thingiverse. And then let's get finally over here to the castle.
We got to mention these braziers though, because these are from Dwarven Forge, and every time these get pulled out and turned on, players, you get the oohs and ahs just from a little flickering LED bulb. So
yeah,
and they're totally affordable.
Very much. And yeah, you grab them and you just turn them on, and you've got instantaneous oohs and ahs.
We use them all the time.
Right. Really? Seriously, think about it. You could put it in anything. And it creates that extra dimension.
Let's talk about this castle.
Yeah, okay, the castle.
Whoa.
So the castle, this is the Winterdale Citadel from Printable Scenery. It's one of their earlier sets, actually. They have some various castle sets that you can buy that are a little different, but this one, I was just looking for something that had a very formidable feel, something that didn't look necessarily Victorian in nature or King Arthur, and it's kind of cool. It's got various different pieces, and you can take these pieces and you could give yourself as much or as little height as you want on these towers. Same thing with here. You can add various layers. Let's It's got that awesome little gate here, and then you can create a whole castle setup with this thing. Actually, it's got different pieces, ruined walls that you can buy and print for them. So yeah, really, really cool, really versatile. It works for any situation where you want some sort of a castle, whether it be evil or not. But yeah, that's it. And then just so you know, like, what are we using for the base? So this is a swamp base set. It's a neoprene mat that you would see a lot of times war gamers use. We use them a lot for our games just because they're so versatile. They look great. The graphics are great. And you're not actually having to either craft or obviously draw something on. You just lay it out and off you go. One thing people do ask me though is about is like how do you move things, right? From a D&D perspective, how do the players know where they're going and how much 30 feet is? And
where's my grid?
Exactly. Yeah. I would say ditch the grid, right?
Yeah.
Ditch the grid. You don't need it, and here's why. Because so many game systems don't need grids. All they use is like they'll use rulers. Now for us, we 3D print like a little, maybe 6-inch ruler, and we'll just throw it up on the field, and we'll just count 30 feet, right, and move, and that's it, right? You don't need precision in that necessarily. If you always get to the point where you're like halfway between whether or not the player is like in range or not, always give it to the player, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no reason to be finicky about that. So for me, it's worked great. I'm sure for you too, Drew. I don't know if you've experienced any complaints or problems about not having a grid?
Not at all. Not at all. And in fact, going back to grid systems just makes me cringe. So I've been using rulers, and I even went, before I started 3D printing, I even went to just a cheap hardware store and got some. They make these really small tape measures that maybe only go about 3 feet, 36 inches or so. And so, I use those too because you can bend them around and stuff. So let's talk a little bit about lighting.
Absolutely.
As you can see, it's kind of like a blue hue here. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so terrain is one piece of immersion that we're trying to create. Again, that just to be clear, we're always trying to create something cinematic, something story-like. The more the players can get into it, the better. So that's where the lighting comes in. So you can kind of see, I don't know if you want to pan to those real quick. So this is just some lighting. They're just DJ lighting is really all they are. They're daisy chained together, and we use some software to control it. And we'll probably talk about that in another video at some point if you want to add these to your own games. And what that does is it, for this particular scene, we chose like a nice light blue to create kind of a moonlight type of feel. And then you can kind of see it pans over to the other side. It's more of a fuchsia or a reddish pink, if you want to call, I don't know. And creating that kind of sense of dread and evil feel that as they go up to the top of the castle. So that transition, especially creating two different colors in the scene, is something that a YouTuber by the name of Atmos Seeker has detailed, and very successfully so, right? Because if you use the same color on each side, you'll wash out the scene and create a very kind of monochrome feel. So that's why, from our perspective anyway, we like to use two different colors on each side, and that's how we achieve that.
Right. So we do the terrain, we do the lighting. We also bring in sound elements to our games. And these games we don't just play at home. We have our own home groups, but we also bring these out to conventions. And so all of this is really portable. We do have 2 trucks that we bring with us though. But what about sound? What are we doing for sound for this layout?
For this layout, I think it's good to have some. What do you want? You got chase music, right? It's really what you need. So you're doing a chase with a carriage. You can have various different sounds. You could include, wolf howls. You could include anything that you want to try to create. Obviously, we're in a swamp of some kind. So just as an example, so we're using something called an Elgato Stream Deck, and this is what it looks like from here. Again, we'll probably do some sort of a detailed video on this. There are other YouTubers who detail how they use this for their games as well. But what this does is it allows us to bring up sound effects and music on demand to create, again, that cinematic effect. So in this particular example, if I want to bring up that horse chase, I'll hit these two buttons right here. And that brings us, right, you're automatically, now you're immersed with sound, you're immersed with light, you're immersed with the terrain. And again, this is unlimited with the amount of things that you could do with that Stream Deck. It's not just sound effects. You can, like, we put timers on it to allow us to help for certain timing events. We can use it for TV, multimedia, if we want to put a multimedia behind us.
You can use it to control the lights if you want a scene change with the lighting. Yeah, it's an invaluable tool for sure.
So much. Yeah. So yeah, lighting, sound, terrain.
Sometimes we bring effects in. Sometimes we'll bring things like fog.
Yeah. So let's show you that.
Cool. Okay, we found the fog machine. So
all right. So this is called Castronica Smoke Machine. It was developed by a gentleman. We'll put the link in the video description. He uses it for various costume effects and things like that. There's another YouTuber online who actually brought this to my attention who does terrain. So this is not something I found for terrain at all. It was definitely something else other people are using. And again, it just uses a little kind of like a vape pen type technology with a tube right here that you can then attach different connectors to route smoke and fog anywhere else in your terrain setup. You've got this dial here, which can do various different volumes. You've got your battery attached, and it just uses a remote. So you just turn it on like this, and out it comes. And again, that's harmless vape type of material you see. There's just a little bit of residue. Let me turn it off. There's a little bit of residue. It's not harmful to breathe, and I would say in small doses, it works really, really well. It's thick. It will roll on the ground, which is nice. The thing that like moisture fog won't do is it dissipates so fast. So this is great. It's portable, easy to place inside the terrain, and you just pop a remote, and all of a sudden you've got smoke inside your setup, and your players will go ooh ah.
Cool. Well, that pretty much wraps up the Vampire Chase layout. I want to remind everybody to like, share, and subscribe, and comment below. Tell us what you'd like to see more of, maybe more detail. We've got plans for videos, for months. So thanks for tuning in to Hazard Quest Vampire Chase.